Hey guys, it's Cliff Gray with Flat Tops Wilderness Guides and True Hunts. Today I'm going to show you how to skin a black bear for a rug. And the hunter today was successful with this beautiful bear, so I'll show you kind of the technique I use. And it's a pretty simple process, but I think seeing it will help you out a lot. So the first thing is I wear gloves on all predators just to avoid any sort of parasite or anything like that. I think it's a good precaution. I've been told so to do so by biologists also. So that's just a little safety thing you could do. The first thing on bears is when you start to cut them for a rug, the thing you always got to think about is symmetry, right? So the best thing you can do is take a little time and get the bear somewhere where you can truly lay them flat. And you can have somebody help you. We've got this bear already flat, but you want to have it where you can perfectly lay the bear out. Where guys run into symmetry problems with rugs is they're trying to skin the bear when it's like down in a hole or something. They can't get it splayed out right? If you don't have the bear splayed out right, you're always gonna have one side slightly off and your cuts aren't gonna be perfect. So take your time to get the bear nice and flat like this, where he lays flat. We're on a pretty good incline, but the bear's not compressed like on one side like this, where you're gonna end up with a cut that's off center, all right? Okay, so the first thing I do is I got the bear nice and flat. If you need somebody to help you, have them do that. They can hold the bear across. In this case, I've got him nice and flat, so I don't got to worry about that. I always like to have the bear's nose up so I can see, exact center line. Their pecker and balls is a good starting point because that's dead center. So the first thing I'm going to do is I like to do my belly cut, my front cut, and then my back leg cut. So I'm going to just go down here. Down near the vent, and I like to just go to one side of the penis and testicles. Up here is pretty free going here. You don't got anything you can puncture, so there's a good example of just keeping one cut in there. A more rigid cut by like down here where I was trying to just avoid the guts, it's a little more work for your taxidermist. So I go all the way up in here, all the way to basically where you start to feel their actual neck. Okay, so you got a nice straight line here. Then a lot of times what I'll do is I'll kind of just open this up a little bit because it's going to help me out as I go through the process. That's just a personal thing. And on bears, I don't use the sharpest knife ever. I don't personally like a Havalon or anything. Obviously a Havalon's nice for the original cuts, but you'll see when I skin, I try to skin like pretty much against the hide, right? If you do that with a Havalon and you rotate your wrist, you're gonna cut the hide a fair amount. But a lot of the bears, I'm the one that ends up having to salt them because everything you leave on there, if you're the one doing the work, it's a shitload of work. So you try to keep the fat and stuff, particularly on a fall bear here. So I've been taught the best way is you want it to be kind of trampoline wise, right? Like if you get under the hide like this and cut against it, that's how you're gonna puncture the hide. But if you have a little play to the hide, your knife, see how I got that knife literally going against the hide? See that? When you do that, you think you're gonna cut the hide, but that hide kind of gives and you get a lot cleaner hide, okay? So a lot of guys are real nervous and they're always cutting towards the meat and they end up with a ton of flesh on the bear. All right, so what I do first thing on the top here is I come right here, kind of like, on bears that have a white patch, a lot of times it's going to be right here, right where you want to do this cut. And what I'll do for the sake of just keeping everything symmetrical, I'll put a little nick on both sides. Okay, that way when I go do this other arm, all of a sudden it's going to look a lot different, but I'll know where I started. So I'll put a little nick. And then just a little theory on rugs. On the front legs, you got to remember anything you send forward on the hide is going to get trimmed because most ruggeries, they trim that front hair to make a flat forward look on the front of the legs. So what you want to do on this is you want to go from your cut here, you want to follow the arm to the elbow. Right here's the elbow. And then I like to go to start my elbow to paw cut just an inch above the elbow. So I'm leaving more of this hide going back than I am forward. If you end up with a big patch like this, it's just wasted hide. It just gets thrown away. If you leave it back here, the guys will make your rug look a lot fuller. So a lot of times I'll just feel it's easy to forget where that is. So I just go mid-arm pretty much here, like I'm shooting to the elbow. And once I get down to the elbow here, a lot of guys will make the boo-boo of rotating into the elbow into this long hair. And this nice, like, this hair is really beautiful. That goes forward and it gets thrown away. So leave that back so it goes on the rug. When you do that, you come up, sorry Jimmy, all right? You're gonna come up right on his palm. His big pad there. You'll end up right by his big pad. Okay? So that's your first cut. And then you can just, okay. So here's where I'll find a little nick I did. Come down the arm and you'll just find that elbow there. As you go to that elbow, feel it with your finger because sometimes it's easy to get lost there. End up just an inch above it, and then turn your knife and go right to his palm. And if you've done just a few of these, sometimes you'll realize you screwed up because you end up right here. Don't worry about it. Taxidermist can fix it, but it happens. All right. All right, guys. So on the rump here, there's kind of two trains of thought, and I've had guys that Canadians that guide hundreds of bear hunts, and they argue about it forever. So it's just personal preference. Back to the whole rug concept. Anything you send back on the bear here is going to obviously go to the back. Most of the ruggeries will not flatten that rear end of the bear. What they'll do is they'll take whatever you have there and leave it. So if you take a lot of this long hair and send it back, it's going to have kind of more of a full rump look. If you put it forward, it's gonna help fill in a little bit of the bear on the sides. A lot of bears, like in here, this is really rare for a bear, particularly in the fall, to have such a full hide in here and here. This is a really nice hide, but a lot of bears, they don't have that, so it's kind of nice for the ruggery to have a lot of material here because they'll sew that. They'll square up the barrel and they'll sew that, and it'll make it look full. But it's just personal preference, all right? So if you want the rump look, out the back of the bear, kind of looks a little bit longer or whatever. Basically, when you go from the vent here, what you're gonna want to do is you're gonna want to stay above all this long hair, okay? And then go to the elbow here, and then go up to the paw, kind of like we did on the front. If you want the flat look, you're just gonna go basically to the vent, and then just go straight up the back of the leg, kind of leave a little bit of that long hair going forward. All right, so here's his kind of knee, elbow, or whatever. So I'm gonna go right here, keep most of this long hair back, just in here, kind of forward. We're gonna go here, and then we're gonna go right up to his paw. Got a hold, Jim? And just so people know, a lot of hunters, they don't realize that these pads, even on rugs, they get removed. So if I'm removing the paws, which I'm not doing today in the field, but if I were, I'll just run my knife right through that pad. Sometimes that scares the crap out of hunters because they think you're ruining something that the taxidermist keeps, but they don't keep that. So here, another kind of differing opinion on things is some guys say always go from the vent out to keep your symmetry. I don't mind, particularly when I got a guy holding it. I can make a match exactly, right? So by just looking. So I see the knees here. I can see there I ended up kind of above that long hair, so I want to match that. All right. So at this point, guys, I'm just going to skin the whole bear.
So what's the technique on the paw?
In what respect?
Well, I just see you're like working.
Oh, I just go down to the joint that I know.
Uh-huh.
So I'm gonna go, I like to go below the hamstring, obviously, so you can get a hold of the quarter.
Yeah.
So I'm just skinning it until I get there, and then they'll break out a paw. Like, unlike a deer, you can't force the joint. They got like their tendons are epic. Like their wrist tendons and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And they will not, you can't like manhandle one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.